Hey there, dear viewers. Welcome to Obsessed with Werewolves. I'm so glad you're here because I know you, like me, have a passion for all things werewolf. From their captivating tales to their mysterious nature, we're going to explore it all. So, let's dive right in and satisfy our obsession together. Like, Opaline didn't eat much. I saw her try though. Every once in a while. She'd try to take an extra couple of bites, but didn't end up eating one. She was finished within the first 15 minutes. Her plate barely touched. I saw some fruit was gone and a little meat, but other than that, she hardly did anything. She sat watching everyone else eat, occasionally entering a conversation with her family but kept to herself for the most part. Sometimes, she'd glance at me and stare as if she thought the sight of me was unreal. Her eyes would wander from my profile to my arms and torso, then back up again. She didn't hide her stare, thankfully, but she also didn't ask questions. I would have thought she'd want to know some things about Blue Oasis, but other than the few things she asked earlier, she didn't voice anything. It worried me a little. I knew why she was hesitant to go, but why should it affect any decision she has? Kaelin leaned over and whispered in my ear, "We need to leave in the morning." I glanced at him in confusion. Why something happened back at the pack? Your father wants you there. I stared at my food for a moment, then looked at Opaline, who was taking a sip of water. When I turned to Kaelin, he was frowning. I can't just leave her here after we just met. He rose a brow. You know why we can't take her along. Lykaon. First of all, because of air in. Second of all, she'll slow us down because of how weak she is from starving herself. Third of all, because it might not be safe for her there just yet. I glanced at Opaline and saw her looking at me as well. Her celeste eyes were questioning, judging almost. I looked at my friend. Did my father say what happened exactly? He shook his head. I sigh and go to say something to my mate, only to find she's gone. My daughter will be right back. Lykaon, Alpha Merle said, noticing my worried expression. She needed to take care of a few things first before the meal ended. What things? I asked. He frowned. That's for her to answer, not me. Is she all right? She is fine, but it is her business to tell you. I do not tell my children secrets. I look at Kaelin to see he is just as confused as I am. What would she be doing while we're eating? I ask. He shakes his head and stands up, casually walking out of the room before disappearing. A few minutes later, I hear him in my head, just talking to someone. Comforting. It seems who? I believe it is a child. But she is blocking my view. Why is Opaline helping a child? Why during a meal as important as this? Lykaon. It is another girl, a little younger than Opal. They almost act like mother and daughter, though she is too old for Opal to have bred her. Where are you? The cellars. The cellars. You mean the dungeons, yes. I excuse myself from the table and walk to where Kaelin is. Apprehension coiled up tight in my chest. Opaline shouldn't be in the cellars right now. She shouldn't have even left the dining room. Lykaon. I freeze in my tracks and turn around to see Opaline's mother. Hello, Luna. She raises her brow. May I ask what you are doing down here? My friend got lost. I was just going to find him. It wasn't exactly a lie. Luna unpurses her lips and stares at me before sighing. Opaline needs to do this. Young Alpha. I didn't question how she figured it out, but instead asked, who is she with and why? Selin gestures for me to follow her. So I do. Opal has a soft spot for those who are defenseless. It is her weakness. She has never been able to control it. Ever since she was young. We were headed to a different part of the cellars, and I wondered what we were doing. Opaline saw this girl a few years ago in the forest on a different territory, and she was being chased by rogues. Opal wanted to help, needed to help. So she shifted and charged at the rogues herself, not waiting for anybody's help. At that time, she was very strong and capable of handling herself, considering Jacques used to attack her as much as possible. She killed 3 of the 5 rogues on her own. The last 2, sadly to say, got the best of her. She isn't dead though. I pointed out. Selin nodded. No, she is not. Darling girl fought with everything she had. Her wolf cowl didn't take it anymore, and she shifted into her human form. My heart stopped for a moment hearing it. She grabbed a rock and started pounding it against one rogue's head, finally cracking the skull and killing him. In the meantime, the other ready to attack. When she was on her back panting for breath, he made his move. He shifted, ran up to her, and started beating her. It wasn't just the torso, but the face and head as well. He somehow managed to bust both eardrums, to the point where doctors couldn't do anything without causing further damage. Has she been seeing doctors regularly to see if anything has changed? I asked breathlessly. She used to go every other month. Now it's down to twice a year. Selin sighed and looked at me. She lost her hearing saving that child's life, and the only thing she regrets is the shameful looks on her people's faces. But she would do it over again if it meant saving another's life. Kaelin, I murmured into his mind. He answered right away, softly. Let her go. She'll come back. He'll explain. But even in my head, my voice cracked just like Opaline be. You should know. Lykaon. That Shess never truly wanted a mate. But losing her hearing made it worse because she considers herself weak and unreliable. I narrow my eyes. But Shess, strong and healthy and beautiful. How could she think that? Because she cannot hunt. She cannot play with other she-wolves. And most of all, she cannot hear danger. I nodded slowly and let that sink in. Opaline was anything but weak, and losing her hearing must be a large part of her self-esteem issues, because she lost one of her most trusted senses. And in such a traumatic event, I realized Shess anxious on how my pack would see her with her disability. Is there a chance of it ever coming back? I asked gently. Not recent. But her wolf can hear everything just fine. Help her trust her wolf, and she will be just fine. I know she lip reads, but what else should I be conscious of? Selin thought for a moment and smiled. Vibrations. She put her hand to my throat, touching the tips to where my larynx is. Let her learn the vibrations of your voice, the rhythm of your steps, and the chorus of your heart. I nod, not knowing exactly how to respond to that, but accepting it anyways. She is already a great Luna. Luna Selin. She will make you proud. She already has made me proud. She whispers. Opaline's mother looked behind us and sighed, shaking her head. We better get back to the dinner. They'll send a search party out if we do not show up soon. What about Opaline? Selin shrugs, as if she left her daughter in the dungeons every night during important gatherings. She will come at her own time. Lykaon. Don't worry about her. Nodding again. I follow her back to the dining room where Kaelin was waiting for me. He gave me a questioning look, but I shook my head and sat down, finishing my meal. By the end of the second hour, Opaline finally came back and sat down beside me, a smile on her face and light in her eyes. I didn't ask where she might have gone, and she didn't offer the information. I just watched as she ate a few more bites of her food. When she finished and people were mostly talking softly to one another, she turned to me and clasped my hand in both of hers. I looked at her with raised brows. She says, I want to show you something. I glanced at Kaelin, noticing his questioning look as well, but smiled at my mate. What is it you want to show me? She jumped up and pulled me through a pair of double doors, into the kitchen. Opaline made her way to the back where there was a little room separated from the rest of the area, a desk with piles of papers on top, littering the surface area. Opaline ushered me in and shut the door, but didn't lock it. When she turned to me, she tilted her head as if thinking about something. Are you good at games? I crossed my arms and shrugged. Depends on the game why. Pursing her lips, she gestured to a couch and sat down. I sat beside her and watched as she looked down at her hands. I know this might sound childish, but I want to play a game that will test your cunning. I lifted her chin to look at me, if only so she could understand what I'm saying. I love games, Opal, and I'm up for anything you throw at me. Her smile illuminated her face as she brought out a folded piece of paper from one of her pockets. You can't cheat. You can't ask anyone for help and you have until I become Luna. Why until then? Because it gives you time to make the right decision, and because I want to know exactly who's becoming Alpha. who my mate is. She pauses, glancing at the paper then at me. I made it up. I was young and loved writing poems and riddles. I wrote one for my mate when I ever met him, because only he would figure out the answer. Has your family tried? She nods. I nod and look down at the paper in my hands. I haven't till you're at Luna. No later. She says softly, like she might be rethinking this. I took one of her hands and smiled at her. I guess I better get started then. Right. Opaline beamed and hugged me. When she pulled away, she took a deep inhale of air. You smell like comfort and safety, she whispers. I never truly smelled myself before, but I took her word for it. When she looked at me, I took one of her hands again and put it to my larynx. Can you feel that? She nods, gently stroking with her fingertips. Can you remember this? Can you remember the feel of my voice? Her blue eyes narrowed slightly and she concentrated a little harder. I repeated my questions so she could feel them over and over again. After about 2 minutes of letting her concentrate, she finally nods. I think so. I smile. So, when I come back, you'll remember how my voice feels. She nods. It's very deep and rumbly. Opaline giggles before smiling up at me. I will remember if you learn the answer to that riddle. I smile again and nod. I think that's a great start. It's silence for a moment before she stands and walks away to the desk. I watch as she stares at the computer sitting atop it. Something like pain crossing her eyes. Very softly, so I barely hear her. She asks, will I still become like your females? Will you still let me? I nod, not understanding her question. She looks at me with tears in her eyes and I stand and go over. Opal, what is it? Opaline embraces me and takes a deep breath, somewhat relaxing in my hold. I want to help. That's all. Opaline. After my little session with Lykaon, he told me he and Kaelin must leave early in the morning for home. That his father requested his presence to help with something important. He promised to come visit as often as he is able, even if it's just for a few hours every day. For some reason, I didn't want him to go. I didn't want to stay alone without him. But he said it was safe for me to go with him yet. I was worried about him, but he didn't seem to notice, and said that I should go to bed. So I did, falling asleep with gray eyes looking back at me behind my eyelids. I woke to someone kissing my brow and opened my eyes to see him there. I sat up and hugged him, crying softly for some kind of peace I had with him. Before he left, though, he handed me a piece of paper. I want you to do this at least once every day. I opened the paper and found the words find someone in public and help them out with something they need. Why? Because Luna takes care of her pack, no matter what. She does one good deed per day as a way to shed light on those who need it. Lykaon set the paper on my dresser and looked at me. Just one person. That's all I ask. I don't want you in here all day, every day anymore. You're going to talk to people, make new friends, and explore new places. I frown. This pet thinks I'm weak. He shrugs. Show them different. Show them my Luna. I smile and look away, only to have him kiss me again before pulling me into his arms in a warm embrace. When he pulls back, he says, I must go now. I will see you soon. I nodded and watched him go, softly shutting my door behind him with a click. I sat in bed, staring at the door, praying it would open again to lie gone. My mate, smiling and in a good mood. But he did not, nor did Kaelin. 3 hours later, and I still hadn't moved. My mother checked on me once or twice, but didn't seem to understand what was wrong with me. Jacques tried teasing me, but it ended in me chasing him out of my room with a lamp, screaming I'd kill him if he ever touched foot in my room again. I looked at the piece of paper and took a deep breath. I can do this. Luna now. I need to do this. Somewhere in the middle of the day, I had given up on my one duty of helping someone. They didn't want my help. They told me it was fine and I should go home, that my mother had it handled. The 10th person to say that to me almost had me shifting into my wolf. Instead, I ended up going somewhere quiet and alone that was my bedroom, and curled up for rest. Sometime later, someone is waking me up with a high-pitched voice. Alpha Merle is looking for you. You should go. I look up and see a little girl looking around anxiously. The Alpha. The girl nods and looks at me. She had pretty violet eyes and light brown locks that tumbled down her back. That she has been searching for you for hours. I need to help you home before he sends the guards. I shake my head and stand up. No, you don't have to do that. I got it. The girl bows her head. I am expected to help the future Luna. And not the future Luna for this pack. Rona is Jacques' mate. But you're Alpha Lykaon's mate. Which means you'll be a future Luna. That means I must help you. I sigh and decide to forget about the argument. Letting her take me to my father. We were almost there when a woman ran up to us calling. Tasha. The girl ran up to her and embraced the woman as I stood by and watched. The woman looked up to me and smiled. Thank you. Luna Opaline. I thought she was in danger. But The girl said something to the mother in which the mother came up to me and embraced me as well. I was confused and somewhat uncomfortable until the woman backed up a little and said, I'm truly grateful. With that, they walked away and I wondered what the hell just happened. Someone touched my shoulder from behind and I turned to see Jacques. Hey, where have you been? I look around and realize it's getting dark. I'm sorry. I didn't realize how late it was. Jacques took my hand and led me home, telling me mother has been worried sick. When we got there, he led me to the dining room and made to eat something. I do, but get bombarded with questions from my father about where I've been and scolded about how I could have been in danger and he would have no way of knowing. I mentally shrugged it off, but apologized. I got up early the next morning and went out again, determined to help, no matter what. And people let me. Mothers let me help with their children and shopping. Men let me get water for them while they worked. And children let me read to them. It was gratifying and pleasing to the eyes to see that I could actually do something for people. For my pack. For Lykaon's pack. And I wanted to. I loved helping them. I loved how everyone smiled and thanked me for my help. My support. It took my mind off missing my mate until I was too exhausted to even think. But it was a good feeling. A feeling I thought I'd never have again. Like on Rose. My father called me home for rogues. They attacked our borders and we lost most of our patrol that night. My mother was doing her best to help the healers, but they attack again and again every night. Luckily, Kale in and I decreased the casualties and injured. I can't say my mind was fully on the fight though. Opaline, my mate. I wish I had brought her home. But I am glad I didn't. She'd have been in danger and possibly injured. I didn't want that. Plus, she needed time to adjust, which is why I gave her the duty to help someone every day. I need to get her used to what a Luna would need to do. The attention she might get. The love she'll feel from her pack. I only hoped she embraced it. As for me, well, I read through the riddle every night, trying to decipher my mate's words. For someone who wrote this at a young age, she made it nearly impossible to solve. It was all about her and me, how we'd be together, what our future might be. The answer would be the result of her greatest accomplishment. I had no idea what it was or would be, just that it must have been a good one for her to have written about it. Kale in needs you outside. Xavier commented outside my office. I nod and stand up. Let me know if my father or mother need anything. I will. Kale, what is it? Our inn is here wanting to talk to you. He says it's important. Did he give a hint about what it might be? No. I growl low in frustration but compose myself before showing up outside where they stand. Kaelin glances at me with a worried expression, mild air, and smiles. Lykaon, nice to see you. Arin, I say as a greeting. I heard you found your mate. Is that true? I raise my brows at him. Listening to rumors. I thought that was under you, Aaron. I have my people at Rust. What kind of wolf is she? Kaelin stiffens, but I put my hands in my pocket before answering. Home with her pack until I go pick her up. I was requested home unexpectedly and she was ready to leave. Aaron smiles, but it doesn't reach his eyes. I see. You will introduce me sometime. Won't you? It'll be my pleasure. Aaron, with a mocking bow. Aaron left, casting one last glance at me over his shoulder. Kaelin and I went inside, and as the door shut behind us, he turned to me with horrified eyes. What if he knows about Opaline? I sigh. I don't know Kaelin. Well, deal with him then. I guess. I didn't think Aaron knew Opaline was a Himalayan wolf. But anything right now is possible. I only hoped for the best. We should at least check on her. Don't you think? He asked softly. I want to. But what about the rogues? My father can't keep them all at bay with his soldiers. We need to be here. Why don't you just take the title then? You have a Luna. You have a Beta. All you need to do is claim your title. I shake my head. Do you really think they'll let me? They'll want proof of my mate. They're Luna. And Shess not exactly capable of coming right now. Kaelin sighed. Frustrated. She needs to come eventually to see her new pack. That's Spidey, my fated mate. White splashed around me and my wounds spun with the beat the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. Lykaon, Shess going to be in danger no matter what. Might as well bring her here and let her be with you where Shess safest. Walking towards my office, I sigh. He'll send a letter out in the morning informing Alpha Merle to start his daughter's packing. We'll go after 2 days to claim my title and my pack, as well as prepare them for her. Maybe you should write to her as well. Kaelin suggests. Maybe I trail off. Kaelin has gone home now and Dim's still in my office. A letter already written to Opaline's father. I have started one for my mate herself, but I've no idea what I should tell her. Dear Opaline, I am writing to inform you that I will be coming to pick you up in 2 days to bring you home with me. I can't stand the thought of being away from you for so long and I really miss you. I have written to your father, Alpha Merle, about your departure soon and has asked him to help you pack whatever you wish to bring with you. Even if you bring nothing at all, you'll be well provided here. It is up to you. Max Spidey, my fated mate. Lights flashed around me and my wind spun with the beat of the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. I must warn you though, it has become dangerous since seeing you last. We will need to travel fast and be prepared for anything. I will protect you with my life, as will Kaelin. But I want you to remember what I said about your wolf. You both are strong and I believe in you. Please remember that whenever you feel lost and alone, please be safe. Opaline, if it were not for me being worried for you while being apart, I would not make you leave your family so soon. It'd feel better knowing you were near and I could protect you at a moment's notice. Your mate, Lykaon, future Alpha of Blue Aces Pack. The next morning, I send the letters off with a wolf traveling that way. Then I go see my father about making me Alpha so he can finally take some of the burden off his shoulders. However, he doesn't exactly agree. You know I can't do that until Opaline is here and she takes her vows as being your mate in Luna. But in returning to her pack in 2 days to pick her up and bring her here, I say, sitting in his office while he paces in front of his desk with a distressed look, I can make her take the vows as soon as we get a rift the necessity arises. But let me take the title of Alpha and let our people. Let me take control of our patrol and figure out our situation with the rogues. And what about Aaron? He sighs. He'll have to see her when she officially becomes Luna, so there's no point in hiding her. But as long as Shess here, she'll be protected by me and Kaelin. The pack will take her side, not Arianus. My father looks out his office window to territory. From his position, he can overlook the different houses our pack lives in, and see what's going on at the main meeting hall where every meets the Alpha, or when we have guests. Lykaon, it's a risk him not willing to put on you at Opaline, especially not when you're first starting out as the new Alpha. You'll be fine. I've helped you out before with half of the pack's mishaps. I can do this. You and Mother need to take a break. Kaelin will help me. Opaline will be by my side. I can help our patrols if you give me the reins to do so. Turning his head to look at me over his shoulder, he stares. His face looks worn and his eyes tired. His black hair is sprinkled with gray and he just doesn't look willing to do much anymore. It would take so much strain off if I led the pack. He knows it. I can tell he believes I can lead as I can lead, but is afraid of the pressure it'll put on me. He also knows that it's beginning to strain Lyle a lot too. Father, please, in doing this for you and Mother, you've done enough. Let me help, I plead softly. His lips pursed into a thin line before looking back out of the window, shoulders slumping forward. Okay. We'll have the ceremony the night before you leave. Then, we'll have Opaline vow. If all goes well, the pack should feel refreshed by having you as their leader. I smile. But deep down, I wonder if they'll take Opaline. I knew everyone in the pack, including the elderly. There were some who weren't as welcoming as others, some who may want me to lead, but not someone like Opaline, because they'll see her as weak. Closing my eyes, I hear Sail N's words again and develop a plan to help Opaline and my pack accustomed to one another. After my meeting with Alpha Ariston, Kale In runs up to me with a letter in hand. It's from Whisper Eclipse. They didn't say who it was exactly. I open the letter and smooth it out. Dear Lykaon, Opaline will be ready to leave with you at the due time. She is very excited in seeing you, as she should be. Please note that you have made a very big impact on our life with the little time you have spent together. She is out in the community, talking and laughing, helping anyone and everyone she can. She wakes every morning ready to see the pack, and comes home to eat a healthy meal and sleep deeply at night. Her mother has found her bringing children home while looking for their parents, helping pregnant women to birth newborn pups, and even hangs out with the future Luna of our pack and Jock's mate. Rhoda, I think fate has chosen you as her mate. I thank you for giving some of her light back before she must return with you. It has been a pleasure to watch her transform back into the girl she used to be. Looking forward to your arrival. Alpha Merle of Whisper Eclipse Pack. My heart lifts at hearing this news. It seems like our Luna will be just fine. I say to no one in particular. Kale In leans forward to read the words before clapping me on the back with a smile. Now all that's left to do is help her get stronger. I nod, but think that maybe we Woodland have to. If Opaline has read my letter and considered my words, she won't need much from me. I look at Kale In with a wide grin on my face. Everything is going to be fine. My mate is going to be fine. This pack is going to be just fine. Kale In points to my father's office. And how did that go? We're doing the ceremony the night before we leave to pick up Opaline. My friend gave the biggest smile I've ever seen. That's great. I nod and walk into my bedroom. Kale In shutting the door behind us while I drop onto my bed. I say, I can't wait to see her. Kale In. It's driving me insane just thinking about her. Just think. 2 days. And she'll be yours. She'll be coming home with us. It was definitely something to look forward to. Opaline I read Lykaon's letter and smiled. I was surrounded by children playing in the park while I set out a picnic for them. Their mothers were taking an hour or two for themselves and their husbands, so I wanted to look after the pups. My mood was already glorious enough seeing smiling faces greeting me and playing in the distance, but it grew into an all-time high after I read my mate's words to me. My father put the task of getting my things packed to Rona and my mother. I told them I'd come by later to help, but they waved me off and told me to have fun. I mentally rolled my eyes, but listened to them anyways. I was having fun. The children were having fun. The day was beautiful and sunny, so everything was perfect. Tiny feet ran up to me and I looked up to see her with wide brown eyes. Her red hair was in a messy braid that was slung over her shoulder, spotted with leaves and grass. Luna. Trey N went into the forest. My brows shut up in surprise and worry. Why? Eartha shook her head vigorously. I don't know. I saw him go in there and tried to stop him, but by the time I reached the forest, he was too far inside. Standing. I looked around. Where did you see him go? She pointed towards the left end of the park. I saw a woman walking nearby and took her the over. The woman looked at me with concern and I said, Can you watch the children? I need to go check something important. She nodded and led her the away as I ran into the forest. My eyes darted around for Tryon, but only found trees and earth. My wolf came to my aid. 45 degrees to the right. I smell his fear. I did as she said and ran. It wasn't long before I saw the boy walking with his arms around himself and his eyes looking around. Mama. Pausing to watch, I narrowed my eyes in confusion. Why would his mother be in here? She's not. My wolf growled. If you don't get him out of here now, he's going to be dead. My legs moved without hesitation, and I ran over and picked him up. He furrowed his brows. Luda, why are you here? I came to take you back to the other pups. It's not safe to in the forest alone when you're a child, I explained softly. But I want my mama, he whimpered. I started running back, darting around trees and clutching Tryon close to my chest. I will help you find her, but we need to be within the pack sight, or else we will get hurt. Tryon wrapped his skinny arms around my neck and laid his head on my shoulder. We need to shift. It'll be faster that way. I can't. We must. My arms instinctively tightened and my feet got faster. We'll waste time shifting. Besides, we can't carry him on our back. He can shift as well. We'll carry him by the scruff. Just do as I say. I came to a halt and set Tryon on his feet and knelt. I need you to turn into your wolf for me. I'm going to shift as well and carry you that way. It'll be faster. He nods and begins the process, not caring right now about my clothes. I shift beside him, my wolf shaking out her fur. The pup before us is white with black paws and tail, his amber eyes large and terrified. I pick him up and begin to run again, since my wolf has better hearing than I will ever have. She picks up the sounds of growling and pounding paws on the dirt behind us. Tryon whines softly, also smelling the danger lurking near. And somehow, the memory flashes before my eyes like a punch to the gut. Mark's Brady, my fated mate. White splashed around me and my room spun with the beat of the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. That's what I hear as I'm wandering around aimlessly. Their growls and barks make them sound more feral than I have ever known them to be. But under all of their loud noises comes a whine and a yelp. It sounds like a pup, and I instantly shift, my wolf racing to the scene, wanting needing to help whoever it was in danger. But when we get there, all I see is large wolves, all dark brown, all piled on top of one another. I lunge forward and rip out the throat of the top wolf, throwing him aside as I rip my claws through a chest of another. The third comes at me, but I turn to him and give a low growl before jumping over him. He spins and rakes his claws down my belly, drawing blood. My wolf yelps, but stands on her forepaws and kicks him away with a push of her back paws. I turn and jump on top of him, darting my sharp teeth in and out, grabbing skin and fur, bones and muscle. The robe blindly scratches my back, my sides, my oxbody, my fated mate. White splashed around me and my wounds spun with the beat of the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. But I have no room to feel the pain. Finally, he dies, going limp and silent underneath me. I turn and find the other just staring at me in shock and surprise. Behind them, bruised and bloody, is the little girl, hugging herself into a little ball, rocking back and forth. I narrow my eyes and stalk towards them, my goal to get the girl out and get home safely. But I don't get far when the smaller of the two lunges at me, knocking me to the side and against a tree. My wolf, being too weak, lets me take charge and shifts. I lay naked in the dirt, breathing heavily. The roe came back and started to grab my hair, pulling me up to my feet. My hand finds a good-sized rock, about the size of a softball. I look into the eyes of my would-be killer. He gives me a dirty smile before bringing up a fist. My arm moves faster and the rock collides with his skull with a soft thud. I hit again and again, screaming out my terror and anger. He drops me immediately, but I continue to pound his skull in. His body sways, then falls on top of mine, trapping me on my back on the ground. With a final thud, I hear a crack, and thought it was the rock, but it had no crack whatsoever. The tree line is in sight and the rogue seemed to retreat. Knowing there was a pack ahead, Tryon wiggles in my hold, but I do not let him go. Do not stop until at my house, and Jock is running towards me with a blanket and a worried expression on his face. I set Tryon down and whimper to my brother, who wraps the blanket around me. Shift, Opaline. I back away, not ready to be human again. He stares at me, a little shocked at my refusal. Behind him, Rona runs out and picks up Tryon, holding him close. What's wrong with Opal? Jacques. I don't know, but she won't shift for me. She's shaking. Rona observes, looking more concerned. Jacques, I think she might pass out. I look at her, quite certain her words were correct. I knew my eyes must be wild and I kept darting around. But I couldn't help it. I couldn't stop thinking about that day. Rona, go get my father. He'll be able to help her. Jacques orders and Rona runs off. My brother puts a hand out to pet me, but I give a low growl in warning. Opaline, you're okay. Breathe. I need to know what happened. You need to shift and tell me what happened. I sit, staring at him to make sure he kept away. I couldn't stand the feel of someone's hands on me right now. I couldn't stand being around people, but knew Jacques would only chase me if I ran. So I stayed. I couldn't shift because that would mean having less strength to have to defend myself with. I knew I could trust my brother, but I didn't want to be coddled right now. Call mate. My wolf suggests. I can't. Unlike everyone else, I can't mind Link. I have no way of getting him here fast enough. Howl. He will hear us. If not him, then his wolf. What if he doesn't come? What if he's too busy? What if we're wasting our time? My wolf whimpers and tries to comfort me while Jacques looks over my shoulder. She won't shift. I saw her running with Trident in her grip. She looked terrified and ready to pass out. My father comes in front of me and holds out a hand. Come up. For me, sniff. I do. But whimper again. Opaline, I need you to shift. This is important and you must listen to me. My father says with a soft voice, we can run. My wolf suggests, where? The forest has roads and there is another's territory on every side of us. We can't even go find Lykaon's territory because there is one between us. I'm stuck. Opaline, my father says, waving a hand in front of my face. But I growl again, making him stop. We need mate. My wolf says softly. I have to agree. I don't feel comfortable right now. Don't feel safe. I want his reassuring smile. His gray eyes watching me carefully. And his warm embrace. The rogues are in the forest, though. I can't go through that again. We think for a moment until my wolf finally decides. Then let me take the reins until he gets here. You don't have to shift until he's here. I'll let you shift. Become relaxed in his arms now. I'll be trapped in here and never be able to shift again. Don't worry. I won't let you be trapped in here. It's just until mate arrives. I'll bring you near the surface often enough you won't get trapped. I think about this and finally say, okay. My wolf looks at my father and brother and walks away and into the house, her tail up and her nose in the air. I know they're wondering if I'm all right, but I don't reassure them in any way. I let my wolf do whatever she wants, except ruin my sketchbook. Lykaon. The afternoon of the ceremony. My father hands me a letter, saying it was urgent. I opened it and found it was from Alpha Merle. Lykaon. Something happened yesterday afternoon and caused a disturbance in some of my pack. Jacques said he found his sister, Opaline, carrying one of the pups, and wouldn't shift when he asked. She growled at him and when I got there. She did the same to me. I do not know what has happened. Do not know if Opaline is still there or if her wolf has taken over. But she continues to stay in that body. Luna Sellen. Maat Spidey. My fated mate. Lights flashed around me and my room spun with the beat of the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. Has even tried to help, but there is no change. I know things are rough over in your territory, but I think Opaline needs you. She looks around and sniffs the air, as if searching for someone, and you're the only one I can think of that she might want. She goes outside still, but will not eat more than 2 bites of food. She will not even help pack her things. So her belongings are on their way to your pack as I write this. I saw one sign she might still have some semblance of control, and that is with her sketchbook. I was not allowed to touch it. It seems Opaline cherishes her drawings, so I know there is hope. Can you please come as soon as you're able? I cannot stand her stubbornness or handle her hiding under the porch any longer. Please consider my words. Alpha Merle, I don't understand the Alpha's letter at all. It makes sense. Except the part of Opaline not shifting. She doesn't seem like the type to hide away and let her wolf take over. but she also seems to be in a bad state. And she's back to hiding under the porch again like she did my first night there, and it hits me. Shit. I curse and run to find Kaylin. I finally find him outside talking to Kurt, another best friend of ours, out near the forestry line. He sees me, smiles, then frowns at my expression, starting to walk towards me. Kurt also notices and follows as I run up to them and shove the letter into Klyn's chest. Breathing heavily, he reads it swiftly before I see his face pale. "What's going on?" "Lykaon," Kurt asks. I ignore him and say to Kaylin, "I can't miss the ceremony tonight. You need to go and convince her to follow you home. You're the only one she might trust. She knows nobody else." He shakes his head. "I don't know. Man, it sounds like she needs you there. But I can't." I growl. "If I go now, I'll miss the ceremony. Then go right after," he suggests, handing the letter back. "I'll come with you as backup and support because you can tread expressions worth shit. As long as she is within her family's sight, she'll be fine." I close my eyes, panic clouding my vision and thoughts. My wolf says, he is right, but our mate needs us. Mate is more important right now. If we don't go to the ceremony, there's a chance it won't happen again for a while. That is the only sure way I can protect Opaline if I bring her here. Lykaon, just ask for the ceremony to be scheduled a little earlier. Kurt says finally. I look at him and nod. Okay. Kaylin, make sure you're ready when I am, or earlier just in case. I'm going to set the time for sunset, which will mean we'll leave probably around dusk. Kaylin nods and runs off. Kurt eyes me for a moment, then walks away. I scan the letter once more before taking a deep breath and go to talk to my father. Thankfully, he obliges and even moves the ceremony up so it's in an hour. I'm grateful and get ready. In my room, there is a pair of black dress pants laid out on my bed. No shirt, underwear, or shoes and socks. I was going to be mostly bare, but not going to intimate considering it would be disrespecting Opaline. Females are already hovering around me enough as it is. I don't need more after tonight. I shower and dress, shaking my head to get the water out of my hair, then walk outside to where the pack is gathered. A bonfire is going, warming the frigid air and a soothing crackling sound. My father and mother stand on a raised platform and I walk up to them, then drop to both knees, bowing my head in both respect and acceptance. My father speaks, in light of a new generation. My son, Lykaon of the Blue Oasis pack, has accepted the title of Alpha. I hand it over to him with my blessing and hopes. He shall lead you from now on, into the future with a kind heart and passionate soul. He will not disappoint you. Max Spidey, my fated mate. Lights flashed around me and my will spun with the beat of the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. I hear a few cheers and claps, but most are quiet in anticipation to see what comes next. My mother steps forward and begins speaking, also in light of a new generation. I would like to step down as Luna and hand it over to Lykaon's mate when she is ready. She is to arrive tomorrow with open arms and a beautiful heart. She will learn the ways of our pack and help Lykaon lead you into the future. I smile to myself until I hear a voice say, "When did he have a mate? Where is she?" My father calls out, "My son will explain all of that in due time. But now, for the bonding process." I stand, holding my wrist out, veins popping out clear and ready. My father hands me a knife and I slit my wrist, letting blood drop into a bowl. I continue to let it bleed until the bowl is about a quarter of the way full, then bandage my wrist in cloth. My father hands it to my mother, who starts walking around the pack, letting them take a sip. Each time someone does, my mind is pulled in different directions, being connected to everyone so I may be notified of anything at a moment's notice. It is an hour until the last person finishes the blood and my mother returns to my father's side. Now, my father kneels and bows his head, along with my mother. "We give our pack to you and your mate, Lykaon, in hopes you will lead it into greatness and prosperity. Promise to fulfill our hopes and make this pack great." I stand tall, feeling empowered somehow and speak clearly. "I promise to let you see your dreams come true. to lead this pack with pride and just. When my mate arrives, I promise she will be a great Luna and serve our pack well. I promise to do my best. Or die trying. I see the pack smile and nod while my parents stand up and clap my shoulder and hug me. I catch KLYN's eyes urging me hurry up. So, before any congratulations are performed, I announce, my mate is currently living in our former pack with her immediate family. I expect when she arrives, you will treat her with the same respect you've shown me tonight. I pause and meet Teacher out there. She will need time to learn about you. Time to adjust. Do not judge what you do not know. Do not place any blame on her for anything. If you have questions, ask me. I will give you answers. My mate is just like all of us, so treat her no differently. With that, I nod to Kaelin and walk away. We run until dawn to get to Merle's territory. The patrol let us through almost immediately and we speed towards Opaline's home. Her scent fills the air, but the bitter taste of fear lies with it. Without realizing it, my paws are moving faster as her house comes into view. Pausing outside, I sniff around and look under the porch, but don't find her there. Thankfully, Kaelin waits for me and I shake my head before going to one of the stalls and shifting, putting on a pair of pants. When I walk out, Kaelin is waiting for me and we go to the front and knock. It takes a few minutes before someone opens the door and it's Jacques' mate with that hair and drooping eyes. She looks up at us with confusion before yawning. Opaline is in her room. Be careful where you step, though she trails off and shivers before stepping aside and ushering us in. And I would take your friend with you, she says when Kaelin starts following me. Why? I ask, speaking for the first time. She won't let anyone who isn't close to her near. One of the women she was hanging out with this week was nearly torn apart. My eyes widen in horror at her words before I look at Kaelin. He shrugs. I can stay down here if you need. I'll let you know if I need help, I say and walk deeper into the house. My feet take me through a hallway into a door shredded by deep claw marks. From behind, there's whining and claws clicking around. Knocking softly, I walk into her room to see it torn to bits. Her window is broken. Her furniture is everywhere. The light source is now a candle since the ceiling fan is now in bits on the floor. Her bed wasn't even spared for a comfortable place to sleep. I look at Opaline and see Shess thinner than usual. Her amber eyes are wild and search me while her stance is one as if Shess expecting a fight. I slowly put my hands beside my head to not spook her and kick the door closed so she can't go after anyone. Opaline growls from somewhere deep in her throat. Baring her teeth, hackles raised. Opaline, I say softly, do you remember me? She blinks, but doesn't show any signs of recognition. Hey, I'm here to take you home. With me. But I need to know you're all right. That you're understanding my words. Her ears prick up and she whines softly, bowing her head and putting her tail between her legs. My wolf whines along with her. He says to me, get to her eye level as a way of showing equality. I do as he says, first getting on my knees, then resting my hands in front of me. Opaline watches my every movement curiously and I don't look away. Opal, can you shift for me? Can you let me know what has happened here? I ask softly. Her eyes search around and I realize she doesn't want to shift in front of me. I slowly grab a blanket and hold it open, but she backs away and whines again. Do you promise to shift if I step out? I say, locking eyes with her. Slowly, her tail begins to wag and lift a little. Barking once, she sits down. Do you need clothes? She whines and lies down, her head between her paws. I'm going to call Kaelin. Do you remember him? She blinks but otherwise doesn't move. I'll bring you a shirt big enough to cover your lady parts. She still doesn't move so I close my eyes. Bring up a large shirt Opaline can wear. Not before you enter. Be right there, he says. I look to my mate and see her breathing heavily, her tongue licking her muzzle repeatedly as if she's hungry. I hope she's hungry. I hope she'll eat for me and tell me what's wrong. I hope she's okay. I see her shifting from the corner of my eye and turn to look at her. She whines, but crawls forward, towards me. Her eyes are pleading and her ears are back again. But she continues no matter what. I hold out my hand to her and she sniffs it when Shess close, then licks it weakly. I smile and was just about to pet her when there's a knock on the door. Lykaon, it's me. Kaelin calls softly. Opaline backs away from me into the opposite wall, growling again. Hey, it's fine, I say, trying to calm her. It's Kaelin. He has a shirt for you. Achia's just going to hand it to me. Okay? She continues to growl, now focusing on the door. I stand up and walk over to the door, blocking it with my body. I stare at her with a hard look and she quiets again, lying down and giving apologetic eyes. I'm going to let him in. Do not attack him, I say firmly. Opaline whines but stays in her position. Kaelin, walk in slowly and hold your hands up. Behind me, the door opens and I hear Klyn's soft and steady footsteps as he comes to the side of me, doing exactly as I said. Opaline sniffs the air, catching his scent. Her eyes narrow but she doesn't growl or make any move against him. I take the shirt hanging from one of Klyn's hands and look at it. It's Jacques. He was awake thanks to his mate and wanted to help. I nod and walk forward towards my mate. We are going to leave and go to the kitchen. I want you to shift. Put this on, and meet us there. If you need help with anything, either howl or call out and one of us will come. Understand? Opaline flicks her eyes to Kaelin, but raises her head and barks once, wagging her tail. I take that as a yes and put the shirt on the blanket so it doesn't get debris on it, then push Kaelin out of the room. When I glance back at my mate, Shess standing on all fours, her tongue hanging out of her mouth, watching me with somewhat brighter eyes than earlier. I leave, shutting the door behind me and walk down the hallway to the kitchen. Thank you so much for joining me in this obsession with werewolves. I hope you've had a great time and can't wait to come back for more. Remember to subscribe, leave your comments and share this passion with others. Until next time, keep being obsessed.